Welcome back, Foundation. We've been in cryo sleep, but now it's time to finally defrost the math and decant the drama. We're finally back to catch up with our wonderful world of Asimov and finally getting back to solving the mystery of psychohistory. I'm your host, Anthony. I'm going to be your galactic guide on all things Gale Dornick. Now, real quick, if you're not caught up on Foundation, don't worry. I have my Season 1 and my Season 2 recaps available for you to catch up and join in on the adventure. And if you're new to the Foundation, go ahead, subscribe. You can join us every week as we break down each episode to try to figure out the mystery of Foundation. This episode starts with a bit of a recap with Lulo Bell's Gale Dornick ushering us back in the Foundation as we catch up with what's transpired in the 150 years since Season 2 ended, with the first Foundation delivering a massive blow to the Cleonic dynasty and now controlling the Outer Reach. It's kind of nice to be welcomed back into this season by Gale, as it's been 152 years and it feels like it. I've been dry too long. I need that Asimov, yo. Put that in. I need that prophetic calculation, that psychohistory, son. I know, but listen, all jokes aside, Gale does guide us to the Outer Reach and to the Middle Band that we learn are either occupied by Foundation or they're about to be. We start off by visiting this planet here called Calgan, the Pleasure Planet. Apparently, this is the linchpin planet that if you control Calgan, then you can likely control the rest of the Middle Band, making it a prime target for Empire, Foundation, but also the Mule. We see this cool sequence where an entire battalion of Calgan's forces are confronting the Mule. Calgan's general tries to talk spicy, but the Mule claps back with one of the iciest lines this side of Synax. My man said, "I require no army. I have talents." And yo, that's not a mic drop. That's a psychic frag grenade. What follows is basically the sci-fi version of stop hitting yourself, stop hitting yourself, stop hitting yourself, except everyone's armed, mind controlled, and getting murked. The Mule's out here with psychic Bluetooth syncing his enemies to self-destruct. What kind of Apple Care covers that? And then, right, this not Zod guy, he bites off his own finger, hands over his ring like it's prom night, and then self-checks out of existence. And then the credits start. This is how we're kicking Season 3 off. This is it, war. The Mule has us out here watching performance art with casualties. This guy, the Mule, look, he ain't no freaking joke. And the show's power scaling the Mule like he's Thanos with therapy issues. And yeah, it's looking like it'll take an Avenger-style size up to even slow this dude down. Now, let's sit back and see if this season introduces and assembles a new team of Asimov's Avengers. And real quick, real ones, y'all already know, I require no army. I have talents. It's not a cold line, it's now a lifestyle. Cop the tea before the Mule Jedi mind tricks you into buying 3 and handing him your ring. We then switch to hear Gale bring us up to speed with some important details about what's been happening since the end of Foundation Season 2. For one, we get an answer as to whether or not Demerzel and Empire have found out that the Spacers betrayed them at the end of Season 2. And they sure as did. And we also find out that Empire has been forced to use jump gates to travel throughout the galaxy. But not only that, it's reduced their influence on the galaxy. At this point in time, the Cleonic dynasty doesn't have as much control as they once did. But they've been hitting the gym. They've been leveling up. And now they got that psycho freaking history, son. And we catch up with Demerzel, and she's observing the coming of the third crisis in the Prime Radiant when Brother Dawn joins her and lets us know that Demerzel done taught her little Cleon picnics how to read Psychohistory too, with Brother Dawn identifying an inflection point. They suck it up because there's really nothing they can do about it for now, but they are concerned. We then switch to Clarion Station, where we learn that this is where we can find the Galactic Council. We also see that Brother Dawn and Demerzel have traveled here to discuss how Foundation has grown to encompass over 800 planets, with Empire having resized to a sustainable 3,642 worlds. Now, Brother Dawn is pitching how the Foundation's influence is having a bad effect on the crops of the planets that are under their care. We hear about the merchant princes who are willing to splinter away from Foundation to work with Empire. But we also hear some members of the council push back and remind Dawn he's not emperor yet. We're still 10 days away. Now, real quick, something that's interesting to me is that these guys are even pushing back. We heard that the Cleons' influence had diminished since losing the Spacers, but to see it is something else. And also, these folks in the council, is it me or do they look kind of familiar, right? Is it me? Anybody else seeing this? I'm not the only one seeing this, right? I'm telling you, they look like they're rocking more red cloaks than a poly cosplay convention. Don't tell me it's just me. And now that I'm seeing this, I also feel like I know a secret that the other characters don't. And I can't wait to see how this one plays out. He even said he's been in touch with Randu Mallow, their traitor liaison. Mallow. Now, quick refresher, because I know all of y'all did y'all homework, right? Y'all all rewatched season 2. Y'all all remember everything, right? I know y'all did that, right?
Yeah, okay.
All caught up? Let's go. We then switch to Trantor, where we listen in on an interesting conversation between Brother Dawn and Brother Dusk, as Dawn is a few days from his ascension to becoming Brother Day. But Brother Dusk is looking at the inevitability of his end, as it will also be time to decant a new Brother Dawn, and Dusk will have to eventually transition to darkness and then meet his end. It's a very interesting conversation, with Dusk reviewing footage of previous Cleons as they met their end and pondering about why some of them tried to run from their end while others were more accepting. And I have to say that this is very different from what we've seen in the past from Foundation. We've never seen a Dawn or a Dusk at this stage of life where Dawn is ready to ascend to become Brother Day. And this Cleon seems a lot more like the Brother Days that we've seen in the past, rather than like the Brother Dawns we've seen. Now, I can't wait to learn more about how else these Cleons are different, although I do have to admit I do have a soft spot for Cleon the 16th and Cleon the 18th. We then switch back to find that the Foundation moved from their old terminus to a new terminus, shedding their religious roots and entering their expansionist phase. And we see that the first Foundation is slowly but surely evolving into what looks like a mini empire. The vault is still present. That's good, right? We meet Professor Ablamus, who has predicted that they are approaching the third crisis, and approaches the vault to meet and speak with the only man who can solve it, Harry Seldon, who appears. He actually shows up. He actually made an appearance. He graced this man with his presence. And we learn that Professor Ablamus is actually a descendant from a man named Xylus, who prosecuted Harry in the case against Harry by Cleon the 12th. He's a biographer and a self-taught psychohistorian. Harry is slightly mildly impressed and transports him into his office, where they have a chat about the current status of the world. But Ablamus can't help but get overexcited, leaving Harry to just let him talk, say everything. And then Ablamus does what every fanboy does and talks too much and breaks the vibe. Harry gave him the digital version of Beat It, fanboy, and broke his little toy he bought it on Temu. But it's interesting that Harry mentioned something about how he gave Demerzel the Prime Radiant, how Ablamus reacted to it. It almost felt like he was remembering it, but let's hold that thought. We then switched to a planet called Haven, a stronghold belonging to Empire and an alliance of traitors preparing for civil war. Some of Foundation's spies, we see them on Haven spotting Empire ships, arming the traitors. And not just any traitors. Good old one-armed Randu Mallow during a good old one-armed pod racer scene. And we hear the Foundation spy refer to Randu as a Foundation turncoat. This is interesting because we heard something similar about Holber Mallow when we first met him. Now, the pod race has an interesting twist to it, as it seems that it's somewhat of a floor is lava situation, and everyone's really trying to avoid being in the light of the sun. You might get burned to a crisp. We get a chance to see our heroes escape, and we follow these spies onto their ship in space and learn that they don't have any evidence of the Empire involvement with the traitors. They didn't actually get any footage or anything to bring back, even though it almost cost them their lives. And we also learn that they have some serious sexual tension. But this dude here, he's got loyalties that lie elsewhere. We then switch to the mayor of Foundation. And we also learn that that dude with loyalties elsewhere, his name is Preacher. And he's actually the captain of information for the mayor. And he's here to talk business about a mutant named the Mule. And he really feels like we need to be paying this dude some fucking attention. This mayor is out here stressing like he added the wrong guy to the group signal group chat. His forehead vein is over here doing cardio. The mayor, like the professor, assumes that the traitors are the source of the upcoming conflict. Now, we haven't seen too much of these traitors yet, but I can't help but feel like we will at some point in the future. The traitors are likely going to be a big deal, but we all know this master of information suspects is that this psychic mutant is a fucking problem. And then what we didn't notice was him stealing this fucking key fob for this dude's fucking ship and getting the fuck out of there using that light speed travel without spacers. We then travel back to Trantor, where we see Demerzel. And she's taking on a visitor. Now, real quick, I haven't commented on it yet, but can't we just take a moment to acknowledge Demerzel's new royal neck piece? Like, this is the kind of neck piece we usually see on one of the Cleons, but Demerzel is rocking one now too. It looks like somebody leveled up to queen mode. All she needs now is a scepter and a lo-fi villain playlist. Oh, and a friend. As she's invited this girl to give her a confessional and get some advice. She needs someone to confide in. They approach this tree where we learn that this is where the war ended. And this is the place where the humans that supported the robots in that machine war were executed. The trees are golden, and that's due to them having the poisonous blood of robots in them. Demerzel also confirms that she was a general in the robot war and that Empire feared her most of all. She ended up being Empire's MVP. Most valuable prisoner. Empire kept her like a collector's item. She then explained to this woman how, over time, robots found it difficult to know what would or would not harm humans. And then one of their kind suggested a new program that would prioritize humanity as a whole over any single human. Some robots couldn't process the new programming, but those who could knew something drastic was needed to ensure humans' survival. So, the robots went to war over what to do with humans and whether or not this new programming was acceptable. And a robot killed an important human in service of the new programming. Now, sometime after Empire reprogrammed her, and by Empire, Cleon the First, he reprogrammed her to only serve him and his exponents. She also shows her the prime radiant. And what's a little interesting and surprising is that she even goes further because she's also vulnerable with her in this moment and shares her fear. She's afraid that she might outlive the Cleonic dynasty. And if that happens, then she will no longer have a purpose. Now, real quick, it's theory time. I've been thinking about this for a while, and you may have heard me say this during one of my live streams. I think we're thinking about this all wrong. We're thinking about a 3D problem in a 2D space. We think the show is about Harry Seldon and humanity versus Cleon and his genetic dynasty. But I think the show is secretly about Demerzel versus Calais. I think this is a continuation of those robot wars. I think the robots are still beefing. Robots were built with 3 rules: not to injure human beings directly or indirectly through inaction, allow them come to harm. They must also follow all the orders of humans as long as it doesn't come in conflict with the first law. And the final law was that they must ensure their own safety. And as they grew in number, they started to find it difficult to tell what would and would not harm humans. One of them suggested a new programming, a zero flaw, that would prioritize humanity as a whole over the fate of any one human. Some of them accepted this, but a lot of them did not. They fought over this. Now, let's think about this. We've seen back in season 1 and in season 2 that Demerzel does not have anything preventing her from harming humans. She can do it. So guess what side she was on? In fact, she confirms she was the general. She was the ones that the humans feared the most. She was the one that Cleon kept as a trophy. And she's the one that I think Calais is trying to outwit. Not with me yet? Remember how back in season 2 it opened with Harry in a seemingly torturous state for 138 years? He was mad that Raish put Gale in the pod instead of going in the pod himself and leaving her to lead the first Foundation. We also saw that there was another being in the same place with Harry, but this being didn't bother interacting with Harry for those 138 years. It was as if it was doing it on purpose to break Harry, and then at the end, fill him with glorious purpose, instructing him to meet her on Unis World. Calais told Harry to go there. And remember how in episode 2 we see Harry kind of glitch out for a brief moment, and he even says he remembers meeting Salvor in the vault, but then he says that wasn't him. That's the other him. How could this Harry have memories of Harry Black in the vault? My theory is that Calais is the reason. I think Calais is secretly pulling the strings. I also suspect that Calais interacted with Raish at some point and persuaded him to jettison Gale in the escape tube rather than let her stay to lead the Foundation. Now, I don't have any evidence of this yet, but it is my suspicion. The escape pod decision was giving narrative sabotage with a side of long game. Anyway, once Harry followed through on his instruction to go to Unis World, Calais was seemingly able to take the digital mind of Harry and transfer that consciousness into a copy of his human body. Once he got a human body, he was vulnerable to Tellum Bond and the Mentalics, but was able to work with Gale to create a second Foundation. I can't help but feel like my guy Harry is a sleeper agent, or at the very least, he's compromised. What if we're thinking about this 3D problem in a 2D space? I think Calais has a bone to pick with Demerzel. I don't know if it's as straightforward as Calais just being on the opposing side of the machine war, but I suspect it's something to do with a shared past between them. Demerzel is, what, 18,000 years old? How old is Calais? Do they go back? Are they old Spades friends? Are they chess partners like Professor X and Magneto? We then switch to Brother Day and Brother Dusk hosting a dinner, and it's growing ever noticeable that we have not yet seen Brother Day. I'm used to Dawn and Dusk being a duo, but this is different for us to not even be in on it. They're hosting the dinner where even the guests finally speak up about the missing brother Day, with Demerzel quickly making an excuse for his absence. We then switch to see a bearded brother Day, who seems like more of a conciliator than even brother Dusk. This brother Day is a huge difference from any brother Day we've seen before. This Day has seemingly taken more of an interest in digging in the nothing box than being involved in politics, and I can't even lie. I kinda get it. And then Dusk arrives, and he's just as jostled as we are by the brother Day who doesn't seem to want to be involved in anything on a day-to-day, and how he doesn't erase the memories of his consorts. And they have a ferret. Demerzel's come, see the future so we can save the galaxy, and Day's, bruh, I'm vibing, bro. Bro's out here microdosing and writing sad boy poetry. He's Space Jared Leto with a ferret, and the ferret seems like he's the only one in the palace doing any work. We're also quickly introduced to San, and we learn that she's from level 88, where they grow the microspores and the yeast. Anyway, we then switch to see that Day does arrive to meet with Demerzel to see why he was called. And he's bummed to learn that she wants to show him the future with the Prime Radiant. In 4 months, the Dark Ages begin. The darkness symbolizes the end of civilization and possibly the end of humanity as a species entirely. Beginning in 4 months, the end of everything. We then switch to Ignis, where we see Gale having nightmares of her meeting with the Mule. And I like how they recreated the scene from season 2 for the recasting, and I'm sincerely hoping that the recasting pays off. I did like the old Gale Mule face-off, but hey, if the recast pops, I'll pretend I didn't even complain. Please, 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 don't pull a Game of Thrones on me. And boom, credits roll on a premiere that did not come to play. We got Cleons with feelings, Demerzel out here playing 4D chess with Fate, and the Mule handing out psychic L's. It's an orientation day on Calgon. This episode hit the gas, raised the stakes, and whispered, it's about to get real. Next week, I need answers. I need snacks. And I need a support group. I need my foundation, because this season is already moving, knowing it's the one. If you're new to the correct opinion, go ahead, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Don't think about it, commit your uploading your consciousness to a vault. Smash that button, you're a mule-controlled soldier, and drop your wildest theories in the comments. And yo, if you really know what's up, grab the merch. I require no army, I have talents. It's more than a quote, it's a prophecy and a sided drip. Links below. Anyway, that's all I have for this one. I'm gonna check you all later. Peace.